My parents called, laughing, to thank me for their wedding gift. The gift. They had just secretly sold my $480,000 condo out from under me to pay for my sister's $300,000 wedding. They told me I had 30 days to move out. But they made one fatal mistake. They forgot who was secretly paying the mortgage on their house. Before I tell you how this betrayal ends, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. And if you've ever been the responsible child who is taken for granted, hit the like button and subscribe. You're going to want to see this. My name is Amanda Smith, and I'm 29 years old. My world is built on code logic and clean design. As a senior UI/UX designer for a major tech company in Atlanta, my days are structured by deadlines and the calm digital flow of problem solving. My condo in Buckhead was my sanctuary. Every minimalist piece of furniture, every neutral color palette, was a barrier against my family's chaos that was currently blowing up my phone. I was in the middle of a critical Zoom presentation with a new client from California. My screen was shared, and my voice was calm and professional, guiding them through user flow wireframes. My phone, on silent, was flashing like a Christmas tree. Mom. 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 10 missed calls. The client, Mr. Peterson, stopped. Amanda, is everything all right? You seem distracted. My face flushed. My apologies, Mr. Peterson. Just a family matter. Please allow me 30 seconds. I muted my mic and camera, grabbed my phone, and stepped into the hallway. My voice was a furious whisper. Mom, I am in a critical client meeting. This better be an emergency. The sound that came back wasn't an emergency. It was laughter. Loud, joyful laughter, underscored by a champagne cork popping and music. Amanda, honey, guess what? It was my mother, Diane. She sounded ecstatic. My sister, Allison, the 27-year-old influencer and golden child, yelled into the phone, we did it, Manna. We booked the St. Regis, the grand ballroom. Can you believe it? I pinched the bridge of my nose. Okay, great. I have to go. No, wait. Wait. My mother returned to the line. That's not even the best part. It's all thanks to you, darling. Thank you. You are a lifesaver. A cold feeling started in my stomach. Thank you for what? I didn't. What are you talking about? I didn't approve any transfer. My mother laughed that airy, dismissive laugh she used when she thought I was being silly. Oh, don't be dramatic. I sold your condo in Buckhead, honey. The sale closed this morning. We got a fantastic price, $480,000. An all-cash offer. Can you believe it? It's more than enough for the St. Regis deposit and Allison's high-fashion dress fund. Isn't that wonderful? The hallway started to spin. I leaned on the wall, my hand trembling. My condo, Mom, what are you talking about? You can't. My name is on the deed. You can't just sell it. My mother's voice, the voice of a 55-year-old real estate broker who knew every loophole, suddenly lost its joy. It became cold, clipped, and condescending. Oh no. Honey. You must be misremembering. Our names are on the deed. Mine and your father's. Your name is nowhere on it. You just contributed to the payments. Legally, Amanda, it was our property to sell, and we needed it for your sister. She's getting married, for God's sake. I couldn't breathe. The $90,000 down payment from my first big tech bonus, the 60 straight months of mortgage payments I had made, everyone documented. Mom, I whispered, where am I supposed to live? Anyway, she continued as if I hadn't spoken. The new owners are very generous, a lovely white couple. They are giving you a full 30 days to get all your things out. We have to go, honey. The wedding planner is here with the floral samples. We'll celebrate this weekend. Talk later. Love you. Click. The line went dead. I stood there, frozen in my hallway, in the exact apartment I had just learned was no longer mine. On my laptop screen in the other room, I could hear Mr. Peterson's disembodied voice. "Amanda, are you still with us? We lost you?" I stared at the wall. My shock was hardening, crystallizing into something cold, sharp, and heavy. They had finally pushed me too far. The war had just begun. I hit end meeting on the Zoom call. I didn't say goodbye to Mr. Peterson. I didn't apologize or reschedule. I just clicked. My mind reeled, trying to find the moment the trap was set. It was 5 years ago. I was 24, flush with $90,000 I'd obsessively saved. I was ready to buy my first place. My mother, Diane, smiled that forced realtor smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Buckhead is ambitious, Amanda," she'd said. My father, Mark, nodded. "Honey, your credit is still new. Getting a large loan in this neighborhood is tough. The bank will see you as a risk. Let your father and I co-sign," Mom suggested. "It will make the whole process smoother. It's just a formality, of course. Just paperwork to get everything approved." A formality. I, like an idiot, was grateful. I transferred the $90,000 directly to the escrow account. I signed the papers I was told to sign, and then the bills came, and I paid them every month for 60 straight months. The mortgage, the HOA fees, the property taxes. It was never about my credit. It was about their asset. This was always the long con. My sister, Allison, who got a brand new white convertible BMW on her 18th birthday while I bought my 10-year-old Honda Civic with my own tutoring money. Allison, who dropped out of college to become an influencer, which really meant my parents paid for her luxury downtown apartment. I once yelled at my mother about it. Why does she get everything handed to her while I have to bleed for every single thing I own? Because Allison is sensitive, Amanda. The world is hard on a delicate, beautiful girl like her. She needs our protection. You are different. You are strong. You can handle it. She was right about one thing. I am strong. But she had mistaken my strength for stupidity. They thought I was a workhorse they could simply ride until I collapsed. They had just stolen $480,000 from me. They thought I would just handle it. The ice in my veins was no longer despair. It was pure, focused, and utterly cold rage. I grabbed my car keys. I was not going to pack. I was going to war. I drove to Sandy Springs. My parents' house was a 2-story brick colonial, set on an immaculate green lawn in a neighborhood where everyone waved and pretended to be happy. I didn't knock. I used my old key and burst through the front door. Where is she? My father, Mark, was exactly where I knew he'd be, in the living room, slouched in his worn leather recliner, the football game blaring. He looked up, annoyed by the interruption. "Amanda, what the heck are you letting all the cold air in for? You sold my house." The words echoed in the high-ceilinged foyer. "You let her sell my house." My father sighed that deep, "I'm being persecuted" sigh he always used when I was being difficult. He found the remote and lowered the volume, but didn't turn it off. "Amanda, lower your voice," he said without looking at me. "Don't come into this house acting crazy. We did what was best for the family." Best for the family? I was shaking. That was my money. That was my home. How could you just give it to her? "Don't be dramatic," he snapped. "It's just a condo. Your sister needs this. Allison is getting married. Do you understand what that means? This boy, Philip Evans, his family is important. They have status. This is a huge opportunity for all of us. She deserves a beautiful wedding. She deserves this. She deserves it at my expense. What about me? What do I deserve, Dad? To be homeless? You'll be fine," he muttered, waving his hand dismissively. "You're smart. You make good money with those computer things. You'll figure it out. You always do. That was it. That was my prize for being the strong one. My punishment for being responsible. I'm calling a lawyer, I said, my voice dropping, becoming as cold as the rage in my stomach. I'm getting an attorney, and I'm suing both of you. This is theft. You stole from me. An attorney? The voice came from the top of the grand staircase. My mother, Diane. She was in a soft, cream-colored silk robe, her hair perfectly wrapped in a towel. She descended slowly. An attorney, she repeated, savoring the word. She actually laughed. It was a short, sharp, ugly sound. Is that what you said, Amanda? You're going to sue your father and me? The people who raised you. The people who put a roof over your head. You didn't put a roof over my head, I countered. I've been paying for my own roof for 5 years, and you just sold it. She stopped at the foot of the stairs, looking at me with something between pity and contempt. Go ahead, honey. Call your little lawyer. Spend the money. He's going to look at the paperwork and tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you now. The deed of trust has my name and your father's name. Your name is nowhere on it. But the payments, the down payment. I have the bank records. Oh, honey, she said, walking into the living room. That is so naive. Any money you contributed was rent. Rent you paid to live on our property. As far as the law is concerned, you were a tenant. An ambitious one. I'll give you that, but a tenant nonetheless. She picked up a magazine from the side table. I'm a licensed real estate professional, Amanda. I've been in this business for 25 years. I've read every line of the fine print. I know exactly what I'm doing. She hit the magazine against her hand. You were a risk. We protected the asset. And now that asset will be liquidated to fund something more important, your sister's future. I stood there, speechless. The rage was gone. It had been replaced by a cold, terrifying understanding. This was not a crime of passion. This was a strategy, a calculated, long-term plan. They had been fattening me up for 5 years just for this slaughter. The next morning, I was sitting in a sleek downtown law office. Across the table was Luke Daniels. I had already emailed him the scans of every document I had. Mortgage statements, the $90,000 bank transfer, 60 straight months of bank records. Luke sighed and leaned back in his chair. Amanda, he said, and his voice was flat. That's when my stomach dropped. They got you, he said. They got you clean. What are you talking about? I demanded. It doesn't matter what you paid, Amanda. It matters what you signed. And 5 years ago, you signed a closing packet that lists your parents, Mark and Diane Smith, as the sole owners on the deed of trust. Your name is not on the title. Legally, you are not the owner. You never were. But the payments, I insisted. The $90,000, that's wire fraud. It's not, he said, gently cutting me off. It's her word against theirs. That's what it is. We can file a suit. Sure. We can argue for a constructive trust claim. You were the de facto owner, but Amanda, it will be a bloodbath. He leaned forward. Think about it. Your mother is a professional realtor. She knew exactly what she was doing. The moment we file, she will file a counterclaim. She'll claim the $9,000 was a gift from a grateful daughter. She will claim the 6 years of mortgage payments were rent. They will say whatever they want. And, honestly, a judge might believe them. It's a, he said, she said, in a family dispute. This won't be quick, Amanda. This will take years. It will cost you $50, perhaps $60,000 in attorney's fees. And at the end of it all, a judge might simply say, it's a family matter. And refuse to get involved. You may not get a penny back, and you'll be broke from the legal fees. My phone buzzed on the glass table. A new email. The subject line was cold and impersonal, official notice 1422, Buckhead Terrace Unit 12B. It was from a law firm I'd never heard of. On behalf of the new owners, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, we hereby serve this official legal notice to vacate the premises within 30 days by October 28. Failure to comply will result in formal eviction proceedings. They aren't even waiting, Luke said. They're playing hardball. I stood up, numb. I was officially homeless in 30 days. I had lost $500,000. And just when I thought the humiliation couldn't deepen, my phone lit up again. It was a new text from Mom. Hi, honey. Just a reminder, don't forget our big celebration dinner tonight, 7 p.m. at the St. Regis, that incredible steakhouse. Allison and Philip are so excited. We have so much to celebrate. Don't be late. A celebration. They weren't just stealing from me. They were inviting me to the party they were throwing with my own money. They wanted me to sit there and smile while they toasted my destruction. I showed up at 7 p.m. They were already in a large circular booth. My mother, Diane, was holding court in a new vibrant blue dress. My father, Mark, was in a suit, looking puffed up and important. And then there was the golden couple. Allison was practically glowing, her 5-carat diamond ring catching the light. Beside her was Philip Evans, her 30-year-old fiancé. Tall, blonde, with a lazy, confident smile that never reached his eyes. I slid into the booth. Sorry I'm late, I mumbled. Oh, Amanda, there you are. Allison squealed, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. I'm so glad you came. Before I could reply, Philip, the fiancé, raised his glass. Amanda, right? Good to finally meet you. Listen, I just wanted to thank you for the contribution. He said contribution as if he were talking about a tip I'd left. I was just telling Allison. A wedding under $300,000 is just non-negotiable, you know. Not with my family's friends. It simply wouldn't be appropriate. So, it's really great to see your family contributing to make this happen. He smiled at me, a flash of white teeth. He was patting me on the head. I looked at my father, expecting even a flicker of defense. He was beaming. Isn't it wonderful, Amanda? Our little Allison marrying into the Evans family. What a blessing. My mother just smiled, a queen inspecting her kingdom. She had one. She had secured the alliance. She had bought her way into the social status she always craved, using my future as the currency. I finished my 3rd glass of wine. I couldn't watch them celebrate my execution anymore. I stood up abruptly. The table went quiet. Amanda, are you okay? My mother asked, her brow furrowed with annoyance. I looked at her, my vision narrowing. I had one last card to play, one last desperate appeal to the woman who was supposedly my mother. I need to talk to you, I said, my voice low and dangerous. I pointed to the back of the restaurant. Now, in the ladies' room. My mother followed me to the marble, gold-fitted ladies' room. She crossed her arms, leaning against the polished granite wall. All right, Amanda, she said, her voice clipped and impatient. What is this? You are causing a scene here. Philip is going to think our family is unstable. Unstable? I laughed, but the sound was watery. Mom, he thinks I donated my house to his wedding fund. How is that not unstable? I turned to face her. The desperation was real. This was my last chance. Mom, please, I begged, hating the sound of my own voice. Please stop this. Call the bank. Call the buyers. You're the realtor. You can undo this. Say there was a mistake in the paperwork. My mother just stared at me. She didn't look sad, guilty, or conflicted. She just looked bored. She turned to the large, gold-framed mirror and took an expensive tube of red lipstick from her purse. She began carefully reapplying it, watching her own reflection instead of mine. Don't be so selfish, Amanda, she said quietly, her eyes on her own lips. My jaw dropped. Selfish? I'm being selfish? You stole $500,000 from me. I reallocated a family asset, she corrected, snapping the lipstick tube shut. She finally turned to look at me, her eyes as hard and cold as the marble counter. You're 29, Amanda, and all you have to show for it is a condo and that little computer job of yours. Your sister, on the other hand, is about to step into a dynasty, a legacy. This marriage isn't just a party. It's an establishment. It's about the Smith name finally meaning something in this city. But what about my name? I whispered. What about my future? She took a step toward me and actually smoothed the collar of my silk blouse. Your future is helping your family. That was always your role. You are the strong one. Remember, sometimes one person has to make a sacrifice for the greater good of the family. She gave my collar one last dismissive pat. This time, Amanda, it's you. She swept past me and out of the restroom. She left me standing there alone, staring at my own reflection. The desperate daughter was gone. There was nothing left in my eyes. Just a cold, echoing silence. I smoothed my blouse, turned, and walked back to the table. I sat down, picked up my wine glass, and smiled at my sister, who was busy showing Philip pictures of floral arrangements on her phone. They didn't even notice I'd been gone. A few days after that humiliating dinner, I was sitting on the floor of a sterile, overpriced rental apartment downtown. I had been forced to liquidate a significant portion of my 401k just to cover the deposit and first 2 months' rent. The financial blow was stunning, and the 30% penalty turned my stomach. Tears of hot frustration began to cloud the screen when my phone rang. The screen lit up, Mom and Allison. A joint video call. I let it ring twice, then answered, putting it on speaker. Hello? Their faces exploded on my screen, radiant, flushed with excitement. They were in a high-end bridal studio. Allison was on a pedestal, twirling in a mountain of white lace and shimmering tulle. She looked like a princess. Amanda. Oh my God, look. It's the one. It's perfect. She shrieked, doing a little spin. My mother stood beside her, holding a champagne flute. Hi, darling. We were just talking about you. We just wanted to call and say thank you for the wedding gift. Allison clasped her hands, the 5-carat diamond flashing. Yes. Thank you, Manna. Thank you for my dress. I love you. They both laughed. A bright, tinkling, happy sound. They were in a dress that cost probably $20,000, paid for with my stolen money, celebrating. I looked at them. I looked at their smiling, happy faces. I didn't say a word. My mother's smile wavered slightly. Amanda, dear, did you hear us? We said, thank you, for the condo money. I hit the red end call button. The screen went black. And just like that, the tears stopped. The hot rage, the despair, the suffocating grief. It all vanished. In its place, something cold, heavy, and wonderfully solid settled in my chest. It was ice. I sat in the silence of my car for a full minute. Then I closed the Zillow app. I opened my banking app. I tapped on bill pay. Then I tapped on scheduled payments. My next payments were listed, my student loan, my car payment, and then there it was, the big one, scheduled to pay in 2 days. The payment I had set up 8 years ago. The one I never missed. The one I never, ever talked about. Recipient, the Bank of America, amount, $4,150. Memo, mortgage account 8849-25. Property, 1422, Magnolia Drive. The beautiful 2-story brick colonial in Sandy Springs. The house my mother was so proud of. The house my father watched football in. The house on which I had been secretly paying the mortgage for 8 years. I looked at the payment. They had taken my house. So I took my finger and pressed the button on the screen. Cancel this payment. A pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this payment and all future scheduled payments to this recipient? My hand did not shake. I pressed confirm. I drove to a quiet coffee shop and pulled out my laptop. I opened my secure drive and a folder labeled Family Assets. Inside were a series of scanned PDFs and saved email threads, all dated from 8 years ago. I was 21. I was 6 months into my first real job. My father, Mark, had been laid off from his mid-level management job. The company was cutting costs. My mother, Diane, with her fledgling real estate career, wasn't earning enough to cover their enormous expenses. The immaculate brick colonial in Sandy Springs, the 2 car payments, the country club membership they refused to give up. I found the first document. It was a scanned letter from the bank addressed to Mark and Diane Smith. The words were large and terrifying, notice of delinquency. The bank was initiating foreclosure proceedings on 1422 Magnolia Drive. Then I opened the email. It was from my father's personal account, sent to my new work email at 2 a.m. Amanda, my girl, I don't know what to do. The bank is taking the house. Your mother, she's devastated. She can't face the people at church. They're going to put a sign on our lawn, Amanda. They're going to auction our home. All we've worked for, all our dignity, is gone. You are the only one, the email continued. You are the smart one. You are the one with the good job. I'm begging you, Amanda. Don't let them humiliate us. Please. I promise I'll pay back every penny once I get back on my feet. Please save your family. Save the family. That had always been my job. I was the strong one. The responsible one. I didn't even think. I took all my savings, the $15,000 I'd scraped together, and called their bank. I found the next email in the folder. It was from a bank representative, sent to both me and my parents. The subject, Confidential Loan Modification Agreement, 1422, Magnolia Drive. I had thought I was a hero. I had agreed to their condition, a third-party guarantor had to step in. A third party with stable or verifiable income had to co-sign the new agreement and assume responsibility for the payments. That third-party guarantor was me. I had been secretly paying $4,150 every month, without fail, for 96 consecutive months. 8 years times 12 months times $4,150. I had secretly paid $398,400 to keep that roof over their heads. And the most twisted part, they forgot. My $4,000 payment became invisible. It became background noise. It was just a thing Amanda does. She's the strong one. She can handle it. That payment, my secret sacrifice, became the invisible foundation of their entire comfortable life. It paid for the brick colonial. It paid for their status at church. It paid for their dinners. It paid for the financial stability that allowed my mother to save her own commissions. The commissions she used to help Allison buy a BMW. They forgot I was their bank. And they had just stolen $480,000 from me to pay for a party. They didn't just bite the hand that fed them. They sawed it off at the shoulder. They thought they had stolen my future. They had no idea they had just detonated theirs. I closed the laptop. The 96-month rescue mission was officially over. The first of the month was in 2 days. The bomb was armed. All I had to do now was wait. 10 days passed. I was now sitting on the floor of my expensive, sterile rental apartment. My old condo, my sanctuary, was gone. I was unpacking a box labeled kitchen when my phone rang. Mom. My heart didn't jump. I felt only a cold, heavy sense of inevitability. The second domino was about to fall. I let it ring 3 times, took a calm sip of my coffee, and answered, putting it on speaker. Hello? Her voice was thin, strained, and confused. Amanda, something. Something strange just happened. The bank called. The Bank of America. Oh, I said, pulling a coffee mug from the box. Yes, she said, her voice becoming agitated. They said we are 10 days late on the mortgage. 10 days. Can you believe it? They've never made a mistake like this before. I told them, I said, we are never late on a payment. It must be some ridiculous computer error, some glitch in their system. I thought maybe you would know what to do. I looked out the window at the concrete parking garage wall. The moment had finally come. It's not a mistake, Mom, I said calmly. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Just silence. What? She finally said. What do you mean it's not a mistake? I mean I stopped the payment, I said. I mean the mortgage on your house, 1422, Magnolia Drive, the $4,150 payment. The payment that I personally made every month on the first of the month for the last 8 years. The silence on the other end was deafening. The payment, I continued, that totals $398,400. The payment that kept your precious house out of foreclosure 8 years ago. That payment. I stopped it. Amanda, she whispered. Her voice was no longer confused. It was trembling. I had to, I said, my tone cheerful and helpful. I just couldn't afford it anymore. I had to pay the security deposit and 2 months' rent on this new apartment, and my funds were a little tight. You know, since you secretly sold my old apartment to pay for Allison's wedding. I guess you could say I reallocated a family asset. She didn't speak. She couldn't. I have to go, Mom, I said. I have a lot of boxes to unpack. Goodbye. I hit the red end call button. I left her in the echoing silence of the financial ruin she had just discovered. The moment I hung up, my phone exploded. A storm of silent calls and texts. A text from Dad, Amanda. Call me now. This is not funny. A text from Mom, Amanda Janelle Smith. Pick up this phone. This instant. You have made a terrible mistake. Call the bank. I imagined the scene. The panic setting in at the beautiful brick colonial. Mom, Diane, is pacing in her silk robe. Dad, Mark, is hunched over a kitchen island. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Smith, but as I explained, there is no glitch, a calm, professional voice says over the speaker. It's Mr. Rodriguez, a loan manager. The payment was scheduled for the 1st. It was cancelled by the third-party payer on the 29th of last month. What third-party payer? Diane screams, her realtor composure completely shredded. We are the payers, Mark and Diane Smith. We have paid for years. Ma'am, Mr. Rodriguez says, his voice now cautious. I am looking at the confidential loan modification agreement that was signed by you, your husband, and a third party 8 years ago. This agreement was contingent. It was contingent upon a guarantor, Amanda J. Smith, assuming all monthly payments. As those payments have been officially terminated, your loan is in default. Default? What does that mean? Well, we will pay it. It's 10 days late. We'll pay the $4,150 right now. I am afraid it is not that simple, sir, Mr. Rodriguez says, his voice now ice. According to the acceleration clause in this agreement, the third party's termination of the payment plan triggers an immediate debt for sale provision. The full remaining balance of your loan is now due immediately. What? Diane whispers. The current principal balance of your mortgage is $510,428. That amount is due within 30 days, or we will be forced to initiate foreclosure proceedings. Diane lets out a sharp, hysterical laugh. $500,000? That's ridiculous. We don't have. Wait. Her eyes light up with sudden, manic relief. Yes, we do. Mark, the condo. The condo sale money. The $480,000. It's in the account. We can pay it. She rushes to the laptop, opening the joint bank account. She pauses, the screen shining on her face. Her face is white. "Mark," she says, her voice a low whisper. "Mark, where is the money?" My father doesn't look at her. The St. Regis, Diane," he stammers. "They called yesterday. They needed the full catering and ballroom deposit, the full $300,000. And Allison's dress, and the wedding planner. The Evans family wanted the platinum package." "Mark, what did you do?" "I transferred it," he suddenly bellows, his voice cracking. "I transferred it all, Diane. Just like you told me to. You said to pay all the vendors immediately so they couldn't back out. You said it was all non-refundable. You even transferred the last $80,000 to the florist this morning." They just stare at each other. The $480,000 of my life savings is depleted, spent, transferred, non-refundable. And the $510,000 bill for their house is sitting on the counter, due in full. They have no savings. They have no liquidity. They have nothing. They are completely, totally, and entirely broke. The trap my mother had set so perfectly for me had just snapped shut on her. I left them to panic. For 3 days, I heard nothing. The storm of angry voicemails and threatening texts went silent. The silence was a new kind of torture for them. They had no cards left to play. I had just loaded the last box into my rented storage unit when my phone rang. It was Allison. I almost didn't answer. I had nothing to say to her, but a cold curiosity made me pick up. "Allison." The sound that came through the speaker was not human. It was a shriek. A high-pitched, hysterical wail. You did this. You ruined everything. I hate you. I hate you." I waited. I just let her scream. It was the sound of a spoiled woman realizing her platinum-plated world was on fire. "Allison," I said calmly, starting my car. "I have no idea what you're talking about. My wedding. My house. You witch. What did you do to them? What did you do?" Through her ugly, gasping sobs, I pieced together the story. She and Philip had been at their cake tasting. They came home and walked into hell. The first thing she saw was my father, Mark. He was on the kitchen floor, crumpled against the cabinets, sobbing. My mother, Diane, was frozen mid-kitchen in her expensive silk robe, staring at a piece of paper. And on the front door was a bright orange neon sticker. "What is wrong with you people?" Allison had screamed at them. My mother just whispered, "We're ruined. It's over." And that's when my father finally looked up. He told me, "Amanda," Allison wailed into my phone. "He told me that you paid for this house. He said you've been paying for it forever." 8 years, I corrected, my voice low. $4,150 a month. 8 years. He said the bank is taking it. That the letter says they are selling our house. In 30 days, they're going to kick us out. They're going to put us on the street. And then he told me, she was choking on her own words now. He told me about your money, the $480,000. He said, Mommy stole it from you to pay for my. She stopped. The realization finally hit her. Everything. The dress, the St. Regis, the flowers, the 7-tiered cake, the honeymoon. It was all paid for with my blood, with my stolen money, and the check that had paid for it had just bounced. Allison's voice changed. The confusion was gone. It was pure, unadulterated venom. You did this, she hissed. This is your fault. You set them up. You stopped paying. You knew this would happen. You were just jealous. Jealous? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. I hate you, Amanda. I will never forgive you for this. The call ended. She had hung up. The truth had finally been spoken. My father had confessed. He admitted they stole my money right after admitting I had paid for their lives. They were ruined. They had lost the house. They had lost the money. And they had lost the respect of their golden ticket son-in-law. The storm I had started was now a violent hurricane, and it had just hit land. The buzzing sound was so harsh it made me jump. It wasn't my phone. It was the old, yellowed intercom panel beside my apartment door. I walked over and pressed the talk button. Hello? A hesitant voice came through the static. Hi. This is Mike, the lobby attendant. There's a group of people here for you. A family. My blood ran cold. A family? Yes, the guard said, and I could hear the discomfort in his voice. They say it's an emergency. A Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Allison Smith, and a Mr. Evans. They look. Well, they are very upset. Ma'am, should I send them up? No, I said, my voice instantly firm. Do not send them up. I'm coming down now. I didn't go down. I went to the small, grainy security monitor. I pressed the lobby camera, and there they were. The image was black and white, but the despair was in full color. It was all four of them, huddled in the sterile, fluorescent-lit lobby of my new, cheap apartment building. My father, Mark, was a ghost. He was crumpled in a hard plastic lobby chair, his suit rumpled, his gaze fixed on the floor. My sister, Allison, was vibrating with toxic energy. Her influencer perfection was gone. Her face was streaked and red from crying. She was pacing the small space like a caged animal. And my mother, Diane, the queen, the mistress of appearances. She was a wreck. Her hair was flat and disheveled. Her expensive blue dress was creased as if she'd slept in it. Her face was naked, puffy, and tear-stained. She was the one who kept jabbing the buzzer repeatedly. Then there was Philip Evans. He was standing about 10 feet away, completely untouched. His expensive blonde hair was perfect. His blue blazer was immaculate. He was just watching them. His arms were crossed, and his face was a mask of cold, analytical disgust. I let them wait for a full minute. I finally pressed the talk button. My voice echoed through their humiliation in the lobby. Can I help you? Diane visibly jumped. She ran to the intercom panel, her face filling my screen. Amanda. Oh, honey. Thank God. Thank God, Amanda. Darling, please, you have to let us up. We need to talk to you. I can hear you perfectly fine from here, I said. Amanda, please, she wailed, and the sound was raw. She was actually sobbing. The queen was debasing herself. Honey, I am so sorry. I truly, truly am. I made a mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake. I didn't understand the finances. Your father, we just got so excited for Allison. You know how she is. We made a mistake, darling. Please. A mistake? I said over the speaker. You call grand larceny a mistake? It wasn't. I didn't. We can fix this, she stammered. And then the real reason for her visit poured out. Amanda, the bank, they're taking the house. Our house. The neighbors, Amanda. Miss Peterson down the street. She saw the orange sign on the door. She called me. She asked me if we were moving out. I just watched her. She wasn't crying because she had hurt me. She was crying because her neighbor had called her. You have to fix this, Amanda. You're the only one who can. Call the bank right now. Tell them it was all a misunderstanding. Tell them. Tell them you'll start paying again. You have to, just make it stop. Please, honey, please. I let her words hang in the empty lobby. I let her sobs echo off the screen. I leaned close to my intercom. No, I said. The sobbing instantly stopped. What? Diane whispered. What? What did you say? I said, no. I am not going to call the bank. I will not fix this. I watched her face crumble in real time. Amanda, you don't mean that. You're just angry. I mean it, I said, and my voice was so cold it surprised me. I am looking at you, Mom, and you are not sad because you hurt me. You are sad because Miss Peterson saw the sign on your door. You are not here to apologize. You are here for a bailout. I took a breath. You want to talk about honor? Let's talk about it. For 8 long years, I paid $398,000 to protect your honor. I paid to keep your secret. I paid to make sure your friends at church thought you were a pillar of the community. And how did you pay me back for that sacrifice? I continued. You responded by stealing $480,000 from me to throw a party. You took my home, my savings, and my entire future, all to buy your legacy. I leaned in one last time. You said it yourself, Mom. Sometimes one person has to make a sacrifice for the greater good of the family. This time, it's you. I let the words land. I watched my mother stagger back from the door, hand over her mouth. I watched my father put his head in his hands. I think, I said, my voice filled with finality, that I have sacrificed enough. We are even. For a second, there was just stunned, deadly silence. Then, from the side of the screen, Allison lunged forward. Even. You are not even. You can't be even. She slammed her entire body against the locked glass lobby door. She wasn't begging. She was attacking. You let us in, she screamed, punching the glass with both fists. You fix this. You are ruining my life. You selfish witch. The security guard flinched. Allison was completely out of control. You've always been like this, she shrieked, her voice cracking. All your life. You were jealous when I got a car for my birthday. You were jealous when I was prom queen. You were jealous every time Mom and Dad told me I was the pretty one. You've been bitter since the day I was born. You couldn't stand to see me happy, so you decided to ruin all of us. You would rather see your own family homeless than see me have a perfect day. My mother tried to pull her back. Allison, stop. You're making a scene. And then a new voice cut through the air. It wasn't loud. It was as cold, sharp, and clean as a surgeon's scalpel. Enough. It was Philip Evans. Allison's rage fit instantly stopped. She froze, her fist still raised, and turned to him. The anger on her face was instantly replaced by a terrible, growing panic. Philip, she whispered. He slowly uncrossed his arms. He looked at all 3 of them, my father weeping on the floor, my mother pleading, his fiancée screaming and hysterical. He looked at them like a biologist examining a failed experiment. So, let me just make sure I understand, Philip said, his voice low, but carrying across the lobby. Let's just summarize the facts for my own elucidation. He took a step toward them. My mother and Allison flinched. 8 years ago, Philip began. You, Mark and Diane, defaulted on your primary mortgage. You were going to be foreclosed on. Correct. My father sobbed. My mother nodded, her body trembling. Then, Philip continued, his voice dripping with icy sarcasm. Your other daughter, Amanda, the one on the intercom, she secretly and under no legal obligation, intervened. And for 96 straight months, she paid your $4,150 mortgage. She paid, good God. She paid nearly $400,000 of her own money to keep you in that house. That is also correct? Diane couldn't speak. She just nodded again. Okay, good. Then, in gratitude for this, Philip said. Last week, you, Diane, as a real estate broker, fraudulently orchestrated the sale of her condo. You stole what? $480,000. And you took that $480,000, which was stolen, Philip said. And you and Allison immediately funneled it into a series of non-refundable deposits for what, Allison? A $300,000 wedding for us. And now, Philip said, hitting the final point. Because Amanda, the original ATM, stopped refilling your account. Your own house is in foreclosure. The $500,000 note is due. The stolen money is gone, and you are, for all intents and purposes, completely and utterly bankrupt. You are going to be homeless. Is that the gist of it? Did I miss anything? No one spoke. The lobby was as quiet as a tomb. Allison took a desperate step toward him, trying to grab his arm. Philip, darling, listen to me. It's her fault. She's the one who did this. She set us up. It's a family misunderstanding. Tell him, Mom. Tell him it's not true. Tell him we have assets. Tell him you're a top realtor. Philip looked at her. Then he looked at her hand, the one with his 5-carat diamond, grasping his blazer. And with 2 fingers, he calmly, very deliberately, peeled her hand off his jacket as if touching something soiled. Allison, he said, and his voice was completely dead. You told me your family was established. You told me your mother was a top broker in Atlanta. You told me your father was a retired executive. You told me your family owned multiple properties and had significant generational wealth. He shook his head, a small, almost amused smile on his face. Assets, Allison? Your mother is a con artist who just got her own family foreclosed on. Your father is a sniveling wreck on a lobby floor. And you are a greedy, screaming child who just got caught. Philip, no. Allison shrieked. I love you. I love you. Don't do this. He just looked at her. Love? You don't even know what that is. You just wanted the party. You were willing to build our entire marriage on a foundation of theft and lies. He straightened his blazer. He stepped back, putting distance between himself and all of them. I cannot, he said with a final, simple shrug. I cannot marry into this circus, this white-collar crime syndicate. My family's name, the Evans name, will not be associated with fraud or theft or, frankly, this level of pathetic desperation. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out his phone. My lawyer, he said, will be in touch with your mother about any deposits that were made in my name. We will claw back what we can. He then looked at Allison. His eyes were completely empty. And Allison. My lawyer will also be in touch with you about the ring. I expect it to be returned in its original box by tomorrow morning. Do you understand me? He didn't wait for an answer. He turned, his expensive shoes clicking on the tile, and he walked straight out the glass doors. He didn't look back. Allison stood frozen for 5 seconds. And then the sound that came out of her was a wail. A deep, agonizing, animal sound of pure and absolute loss. She had lost the ring. She had lost the $300,000 party. She had lost the status. She had lost the Evans name. She had lost everything. She collapsed. She fell to the dirty lobby floor in her expensive red dress, screaming and pounding the ground. My mother and father were statues. They just watched. They had lost the house. They had lost the money. And now they had lost their one great legacy. They were ruined completely. I watched them on the grainy black and white monitor. I watched them break. And I took my finger and pressed the end button on the intercom. The feed cut. My phone vibrated on the kitchen counter. The name on the screen made my heart stop. Luke Daniels, attorney. I picked up the phone. My hand was perfectly steady. Luke. Amanda. His voice was electric. You will not believe the call I just received. I did what we discussed. I sent the formal notice of intent to the Bank of America. And I asked for, and he said, and I could hear him smiling. The hornet's nest has officially been kicked. Their entire legal department is at a 4-alarm fire. You were right, Amanda. You were 100% right. Tell me, I said. Okay, Luke said, taking a breath. So, I sent the letter. I informed them that you, the de facto payer on the Magnolia Drive property for 96 straight months, were discontinuing all payments. And then I told them why. I attached, he continued, a copy of the closing statement, the one that showed your mother, Diane Smith, as the selling agent for your condo. Amanda, the bank lawyers didn't just see a default. They saw a massive, flashing red light liability. Think about it, he said, his voice speeding up. Your mother is not just a client. She is a licensed real estate professional. She used her professional license to commit fraud. She fraudulently sold one asset, your condo, and in doing so, she directly caused another asset, their asset, the Magnolia House, to go into default. She violated about 6 different federal banking covenants. She exposed the Bank of America to a massive lawsuit, not just yours, but the State Real Estate Commission. They are terrified of discovery. They are terrified of what else this investigation might uncover about your mother's professional practices. They don't just want this to go away, Amanda, Luke said. They need this to be buried yesterday. So, he said, a VP from their legal department called me an hour ago. He was extremely cooperative. He wanted to settle. He wanted to resolve this regrettable family matter quickly and quietly. What kind of settlement? I asked. The bank sees you, Amanda. They see your 96 straight payments. They see your income. They see you as the reliable party. They see your parents as the massive, escalating liability that they are. So, they are making an offer, a doozy of an offer. Luke took a deep breath. They are immediately moving forward with the foreclosure on 1422 Magnolia Drive. They are going to evict Mark, Diane, and Allison. Period. And they are officially offering you, and only you, the right to assume the loan. Assume the loan? You heard me, he said. You just take over. You take over the remaining principal. $510,000. The house is yours. The deed is transferred. Your parents are out. You are in. It's clean. It's a total win, Amanda. You get the house. You have justice. I turned back to the window. I looked down. I could see just the edge of the lobby entrance. I saw my father, Mark, a broken, small figure being half supported by my mother. As they stumbled to the curb, Allison was behind them, her face in her hands. They looked homeless. I thought about the offer. A $510,000 mortgage. I could afford it. I could have the house. But it felt incomplete. It felt like they were still getting away with something. The money. My money. The $480,000 they had laughed about. It was still gone. No, I said into the phone. Luke was baffled. No? What do you mean, no? Amanda, this is the victory. This is the goal. Take the win. It's not the victory, Luke, I said. My voice was quiet, but it was made of steel. It's a win. I don't just want the house. I want my money back. The $480,000, that's the part one care about. The house. The house is just the leverage. Amanda, I don't understand. How are you going to get the $480,000 back? That's a separate lawsuit against your mother. It's what we talked about. It could take years. No, it's not, I said. The plan was suddenly there. It was cold and it was perfect. It's not a separate lawsuit. It's all one big, messy fraudulent transaction. And the bank is stuck right in the middle of it. What are you going to do? Luke asked. Here's what you are going to do, I said. You are going to call that VP back. You are going to thank him for the very generous offer to let me assume their $510,000 loan. And you are going to tell him I am not interested. Luke was silent. You are going to tell him I want to do one better. I don't want to assume his loan. I want to buy it. I want to buy the note. The full $510,000 in cash. Cash, Amanda, you don't have $510,000. You just told me they stole your $480,000. Exactly, I said. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. A cold, genuine smile. That's the leverage, Luke. That is the checkmate. You are going to tell that nice VP that I am eager to make his $510,000 problem disappear. I will wire him the transfer by the end of the week. But, unfortunately, my liquidity is a little tied up right now. My $480,000 is inconveniently sitting in a non-refundable wedding venue bank account. A transaction his bank is now fully aware was funded by fraud. I let the idea sink in. You are going to tell him, I continued, that if he wants his $510,000, he needs to help me claw back my $480,000. The bank has power I don't have, I said, thinking aloud. They can call the title company that underwrote the fraudulent sale. They can call the new buyers. They can threaten federal wire fraud charges. They can have my mother's real estate license revoked by 9 a.m. tomorrow. They can apply pressure that I, as a scorned daughter, cannot. They need to undo my mother's first crime in order for me to have the money to resolve their second crime. There was a very, very long silence on the other end of the phone. I just waited. Finally, I heard a low whistle. My God, Amanda. And then Luke started to laugh. You're not offering them a settlement. You're not even negotiating. You, Luke said, are an absolute shark. You are handing them a loaded gun, telling them exactly who to point it at, and having them do all the dirty work for you, just for the privilege of letting you pay them. He laughed again. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm making the call right now. This is not a lawsuit. This is a game of chess, and you just delivered checkmate. 30 days. 30 days was all it took for an entire empire to crumble and for a new one to rise. The final scene did not take place in a dramatic courtroom. It took place in Luke's quiet, professional office overlooking the city. My plan had worked more perfectly than I could have imagined. The Bank of America, faced with a massive multi-million-dollar lawsuit and a federal investigation into one of their preferred real estate brokers, did not just fold. They attacked. They did what I, as a daughter, could not. They unleashed their entire legal department. They called my mother, Diane. They informed her that her license was under immediate review for ethics violations and professional fraud. They called the IRS to flag the fraudulent sale. They called the State Real Estate Commission. Then they went after the money. They called the St. Regis. They called the high-fashion dress studio. They called the florist. They informed every vendor that the $300,000 in deposits they had received was the proceeds of wire fraud and subject to immediate clawback. Philip Evans' family, seeing an opening to unassociate their good name from the scandal, joined the bank's efforts, threatening their own lawsuits against the vendors for accepting fraudulent funds. The St. Regis, confronted with a legal battle against a major bank and the Evans family, conceded in less than an hour. The $300,000 deposit was returned. The other vendors followed, terrified. The remaining $180,000, my parents had to find on their own. The bank gave them 48 hours. I heard through Luke that my father had to liquidate his entire retirement account. My mother had to cash out any stocks she had. They were drained down to the last penny just to complete the amount. And now here I was in Luke's office. He slid 2 documents across the polished mahogany table. The first was a cashier's check made out to me. Amanda J. Smith. The amount, $480,000, my money. And this, Luke said, sliding the much thicker second document, is the prize. It was the deed. The bank, in its profound gratitude for me resolving their legal nightmare, had sold me the $510,000 note on 1422, Magnolia Drive at a very, very significant discount. I had just bought my childhood home, the asset my mother had sacrificed me for, using the exact money she had stolen from me. I picked up the pen. I signed my name, Amanda J. Smith, owner. I owned my money. I owned my old condo, which I had just reclaimed, and now I owned their house. I was, in effect, a real estate mogul. Luke shook his head. You didn't just win, Amanda, he said, his smile wide. You bought the entire stadium. I drove to Sandy Springs. It was the 30th day of the month, the day the bank's eviction notice expired. The house, my house, looked different. The immaculate lawn was slightly overgrown. A cheap, rented moving truck was parked awkwardly in the driveway. I parked my car on the street and walked up the stone path. The first person I saw was my father, Mark. He was trying to carry a heavy box labeled kitchen down the stairs. The box slipped. He just let it drop, dishes shattering inside. He cursed a low, weak sound, and then just sat. He sat on the bottom step in his dirty, rumpled clothes and put his gray head in his hands. A completely defeated man. The front door opened, and my sister Allison walked out. If my father was a ghost, Allison was a gargoyle. She was almost unrecognizable. Her golden influencer sheen was gone. Her hair was pulled back in a greasy, messy bun. She wore old sweats and a stained college t-shirt. Her face was pale, puffy, and completely empty of her former sparkle. She looked at me, and her eyes were just dull. A dull, lifeless, exhausted hatred. She was carrying a box of her old high school prom trophies. She didn't say a word. She just dumped the box on the lawn and walked back inside. And then my mother, Diane, she walked out holding a lampshade. She froze on the top step when she saw me. She just stood there, the lampshade in her hand, the queen of Sandy Springs, the mistress of appearances, the woman who had smiled at me in the restaurant bathroom. She was just a tired middle-aged woman in a stained tracksuit being evicted. I didn't speak. I just stood on my walkway. I watched them. I watched the wreckage of the family that had tried to destroy me. Finally, Diane put the lampshade down. She walked slowly down the steps, stopping about 10 feet from me. Her eyes were vacant. There were no tears left. "You came," she said. Her voice was a dry, raspy whisper. "You're here to watch? You're here to make sure we leave? You're going to kick us out onto the street, Amanda?" I looked at her. I thought of her words in the restroom. "This time, it's you." I walked past her. I didn't answer. I walked up the steps and into the foyer of my new home. I looked around. "Needs paint," I said to myself. I turned and walked back out, stopping in front of her. She was watching me, her expression a terrified, confused mask. I reached into my new expensive leather bag, the one I had bought myself with my own recovered money. I pulled out a single folded document. "I'm not going to kick you out," I said. A sudden, pathetic, desperate hope flooded her face. She actually took a step toward me, her hand reaching out. "Oh, Amanda," she breathed. "Darling, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you couldn't. I knew you still loved us." I held up the paper, and she stopped. "This," I said, "is a lease agreement." The hope on her face vanished, replaced by stunned, empty confusion. A what? A lease agreement?" I repeated, my voice clear and professional. "You want to stay in my house? You will pay rent, $5,000 a month. That is slightly below the current market rate for Sandy Springs, but I'm feeling generous." Allison, who had just returned to the doorway, let out a choked scoff. "We don't have $5,000. You witch." "That," I said, not even looking at her, "is not my problem. I am looking at you, Mom. It's a month-to-month lease. First and last month's rent, plus a security deposit, is due by the 1st of next week. That's $15,000 to move in." Diane was completely speechless. $15,000? We have nothing. We have nothing. You know you took." "I didn't take anything," I cut her off. "I took back what was mine. You'll have to figure it out. You're a top realtor, aren't you, Mom? You know how this works. You know all about the law. You'll figure it out. You always do." I let the lease agreement drop at her feet. I turned, walked down the path, got into my car, and drove away. The scene changes. It's a week later. I am in the house. My house. I'm in the large, sunny upstairs bedroom that used to be Allison's. The frilly pink furniture is gone, replaced by my sleek, professional standing desk. This is my new home office. I am on a Zoom call, but this time I am the one leading the meeting. I've just launched my own UI/UX design consultancy. My old clients followed me. I am my own boss. I finish the call and look out the window. The lawn is being mowed. I hired a service. My family was obsessed with legacy. They were obsessed with what the neighbors thought, with the name on the wedding invitation, with family honor. They were so busy building a facade, they forgot to check the foundation. They never knew that I was the one who for 8 long years was secretly holding up the beams. They tried to sell my future to pay for their past. They took a $480,000 condo from me. And in return, I took a $510,000 house from them. I picked up an entire real estate portfolio. The greatest revenge is not always about burning everything down. Sometimes it's about owning everything. It's about becoming the bank. It's about becoming the landlord. And the sweetest revenge of all is sitting in your new office, in your new house, holding the cleared check for $15,000. From the very people who tried to make you homeless, they figured it out. It appears they really needed a place to live. Here's the lesson we can learn from this story. Your true worth is never defined by those who underestimate you. Amanda's family saw her as a resource to be exploited, never realizing she was the secret foundation holding them up. Her strength was not just her success. It was her knowledge. While they were planning a party, she held the key to their survival. Emotional independence is vital, but financial leverage is the tool that claws back justice. They stole her condo, but by understanding their critical weakness, she reclaimed an entire empire. If this story resonated with you, hit like and subscribe. Have you ever had to choose between saving your family and saving yourself? Let me know in the comments below.